Hey everybody, Chris the UpNorth AirGunner, and today we are here with the brand new FX King. I'll tell you what, I've been really waiting for this variation of the FX dynamic block to come out for quite a few reasons, and a lot of it has to do with this GRS stock, and we're going to dive into the details on that here in a minute. But ultimately what this is, if you're familiar with the FX Panthera and the FX Dynamic that have come out here recently, the architecture of the actual working components are exactly the same. But I want to kind of take a deep dive into those components for a lot of you that might just be getting into the new dynamic block or even just the FX ecosystem to kind of talk a little bit about some of the features that this specific gun has. So this is the 30 cal variation. So with the 30 cal barrel, and it has a 600 millimeter barrel on this. And what you have here is all of this is an actual plenum here. We're going to talk a little bit about what a plenum does. And on this side, we have dual gauges here. And so we have a fill pressure and a regulated pressure. We're going to talk a little bit about how you use those. And we have a power wheel and a micro adjuster. And on this side right here is the cocking mechanism. And we're going to go over all of these different features and how this works. But I want to talk to you a little bit about why the FX dynamic block system is so exciting to me as compared to really any other airgun platform that's in the market right now, and even specifically some of the previous versions of the FX system, right? So for me, I really am intrigued by the ability to push heavy for caliber slugs. Now, what that means is just, it's not just raw foot-pounds of energy numbers that we can get from those higher amounts, but you're actually also increasing your effective shooting range by being able to shoot a higher ballistic coefficient projectile. But then you can also tune these all the way down just to shoot pellets as well. So really, it's not just about the high power capabilities of this. This can actually shoot up to 130 foot-pounds of energy, shooting very heavy 64 grain slugs. But it's the versatility being able to bring us all the way down to like 44 grain pellets and being able to have all of that spectrum of use baked into one gun. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about how to achieve that, how to achieve a dual tune with this FX King. So one of the things that I do need to talk about before we get into the actual tuning process is why I'm so excited about the fact that GRS and FX have continued their partnership and their ability to create GRS Rifle Stocks that FX platforms that can drop into. So if you're new to the GRS Rifle Stocks design, there's nothing out there that's in comparison for me. One, the look and the feel of the warm wood, just the laminate wood, just absolutely just seems classy. It just takes this high-end air gun and just really, when you're dropping it into a GRS, you literally can put this thing over your fireplace and it could actually just be an artistic piece in your home. But from a usability standpoint, GRS is one of the only platforms that I've ever seen that actually uses this very unique palm swell offset design. And what this is a 6-degree offset design. And it's just, when you lay your hand on this, I've never shouldered another rifle ever that has this feel, and a lot of it has to do with this 6-degree offset. It just fits in my hand perfectly, and then the ergonomics of the rifle, I can adjust the cheek rest and the length of pull here in the stock, so I'm not struggling when I pick up my sight picture. When I drop my cheek into position to shoot, I know that my sight picture is going to be the exact same way every single time. So obviously for precision shooting, it matters a lot. And this is a birch laminate stock, and it's hard to describe the way it feels. It's not matte and it's not high gloss. It's kind of somewhere in between. But when you actually shoulder it and you put your cheek on it, it just has just a very warm feel to this birch laminate stock. And then we also here have the front, which is very convenient here. You've got two different Picatinny rails here on each side, so you want to run off like a flashlight or an IR light if you're doing night hunting. So one thing you'll notice here is it doesn't have any kind of Picatinny mount, and for me that's okay. Most of my hunting I am just doing offhand, or I may have a shooting bag that I'm resting that in. But if you do want to put a bipod on this, Saber Tactical actually has a attachment for the bottle, so it gives you a bit of Picatinny rail that you can actually then put a bipod on. So yeah, definitely check that out if you're looking for a bipod attachment. So yeah, the GRS stock, well, I have a lot of my other guns dropped into this GRS. So I have my 6.5 Creedmoor dropped into a GRS. I have my 22 long rifle 4.57 CZ dropped into one of these. I've got my FX Airguns, which I'll be honest, I have had the most fun with the GRS Rifle Stocks with that FX Crowd and the FX Dreamline deer hunting the last couple of years. It has just been absolutely amazing, and just can't describe to you just being able to have that confidence of just pulling up your sight picture, just knowing everything's perfectly adjusted. And obviously, as I'm wearing different hunting clothes as compared to maybe when I'm shooting from the bench, so your length of pull is going to greatly be different from wearing big, bulky clothes where I maybe need to shorten up that length of pull a little bit versus I'm just wearing a t-shirt. I might need to lengthen that length of pull. So I don't have to be constantly like messing with my scope, moving my scope forward and back to get that sight picture just right. I can use that adjustment here. And so it's actually perfect as I'm wearing different hunting clothes versus shooting clothes. So that's the GRS rifle stock. So on the dynamic block, one of the other things I think that's really transformative in the airgun industry of this dynamic block, and I've talked about this in some of my previous videos, is the valving in this. FX has really taken a very intentional effort of trying to do more with less. And what I mean by that is to basically trying to reach higher power levels and velocity levels without having to crank your regulated pressure as high as possible. And so they're accomplishing that. If you look at the difference between the FX Impact M3 valve, as we see in the picture here, as compared to the FX Dynamic valve, you'll notice just the valve seat alone is significantly larger with the FX Dynamic block. So within the FX King, that is the valving system that they're using in here. And then furthermore, the plenum space that's in here. Now, when you're shooting heavy for caliber slugs, you definitely want to have a significant amount of plenum space to basically have enough air to push that slug out and keep that velocity consistent from the point it leaves the breech to the point it leaves the muzzle. And the best kind of analogy that I like to kind of tell people about, like, do you think of a plenum of like, fill your lungs up to take a deep breath, right? And then you blow out. So when you hit that end of the amount of air in your lungs, take a short breath and blow out, right? You just don't have a lot of oomph, okay? So the larger plenum is like taking a deeper breath, and you're basically having more lung capacity to truly expel that heavier slug. So if you had a straw, and let's just say you put like, a piece of cotton ball in there, it's not going to take a lot, right? Just need a quick burst of air, like shooting a pellet, right? It takes a quick little burst of air, doesn't take a lot. But if you put let's say a really heavy piece of lead in that straw, right? It's going to take like a bigger blow. And so that's what that plenum does. And in every single shot, you want to make sure that you're not using up the entire capacity of that plenum space, because basically then it has to rebound and then it has to fully recharge. And so as you're shooting kind of higher power, heavy for caliber slugs, you're going to hear it in that plenum outside as it's kind of rebounding, and you're hearing that, it's refilling. That's okay. And so that's going to be expected. But you can then tune this down to then shooting just pellets where it doesn't need all that plenum space. But so really what I want to go through today is how do I dual tune for both a hybrid slug and a pellet? And you might ask yourself, well, why would you want to do that? Shouldn't you just set your gun up for like a single use and get the perfect tune just for that single use projectile? Well, typically that is how I would set up a gun. I would pick a projectile in a use case, let's say, slugs for hunting, or high ballistic coefficient slugs for competition or long range shooting, maybe pellets for short range shooting. So, but one of my goals in this hunting season is here in Michigan, our ruffed grouse population is actually getting really good. And so I grew up grouse hunting here in Michigan, typically with shotguns, and I wanted to get into grouse hunting, but using an airgun rifle. So I was reading an article online and actually saw that up in Canada, this is pretty common. They take out 22 long rifles and they go grouse hunting with them. So one of my goals to use the new FX King is to go grouse hunting with. Now, the reason why I want to dual tune this thing is there's a couple spaces here close to where I live where they have cleared state land where a lot of aspen regrowth is coming back, where the grouse absolutely love to live into those regrowth areas. The problem is that there's actually housing developments close by around that. And so the reason why I want to dual tune is for in the places I'm going to be where I really don't have to worry about any neighborhoods, housing developments, other populated areas. Shooting slugs I don't have a problem. So when I read those articles about grouse hunting, sometimes they may be on the perch, up in a limb, up in an elevated position, or if I may be squirrel hunting, and you're shooting maybe, you know, upwards of a 45-degree shot, that slug is going to basically go a lot further than a pellet. It's going to retain its energy over a greater distance as compared to a pellet. So if I need to go back and forth from a slug tune to a pellet tune, if I have to, you know, if I know I'm shooting elevated shots, I'd rather shoot with pellets because that energy loss over distance is going to be significantly more than with shooting slugs. So what I wanted to do is I actually wanted to see if, as it was sent to me in the hybrid tune, that I know I can get sub-MOA groups shooting hybrids at 50 yards. Can I also dual tune it to pellets? So I'm going to take you through my tuning process of how I do that. So without further ado, let's check that out. All right, let's see how this does with hybrids. See all the power that's in that thing? Yeah, these hybrids are at, let's see here, 963. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I've actually made quite a few different little X's on that box. And what I'm doing is I'm shooting between 3 to 5 shots per X. And what I'm doing is I'm moving down the power wheel adjustment until I find that how the groups tighten up. And I know that's a good place to start then with fine tuning my tune. So with the FX hybrid slugs, I really didn't have to go through that many settings to really find a sub MOA tune. I think it's liking that one a little bit better. Yeah, it likes that a lot. Oh yeah, let's go check that out. So tuning with slugs in the wind, it's a lot easier just because they're bucking the wind so much. But yeah, definitely like that right at 950 feet per second. Let's flip that over. That's a 5-shot group right there. So that's 5 shots. That was 3. I just kind of gave up on that one. That was 3. I just gave up on that one. Wasn't worth pursuing either one of those. But right there at 950 feet per second at 50 yards, those 30 caliber hybrids, that is wicked good. All right, so we're gonna start our tuning process. I've got that pretty high up right now. On the chronograph, I had it about 900 feet per second. So we're gonna come down 1 notch on the power wheel, shoot 5. I'm just gonna keep working my way down, shooting 5-shot groups, and see what tune it likes a little bit better. Okay, so for this tune, you'll notice it's gonna take me a lot more shot groups in order to find that sub-MOA group that I was looking for. And the reason being is that I've actually have this gun set up for slugs, and it's regulated at 140 bar. So typically if I wanted to set this up just for pellets, it'd probably be around 100 to maybe 110 bar and start from there. So sometimes when you're starting at such a high regulated pressure, it's gonna take you a few more settings, moving that power wheel down further to find that tight shot group. But one of the things that I did have to do is actually had to move the micro adjuster way down to right around 2 on the micro adjuster. And what that's doing is it's actually giving you a lot less pre-tension spring load on the hammer by moving that micro adjuster. And so by cranking that micro adjuster all the way up, what you're doing is you're maximizing all the preload on the spring. And that's typically how I tune for slugs. They just really max out both the power wheel and the micro adjuster and just start at the highest amount of power and then work my way down with that. So with pellets, obviously that would overpower the pellet. I typically like starting at about 900 feet per second with 30 cal and working my way down. For competition, I have gone as low as 825 feet per second for competition shooting to get the tightest groups. And the reason why with pellets, you really want to slow them way down because if they destabilize at all, that wind is really just going to grab them and just throw them completely off the paper. And so bringing it down as low as possible is going to give you the best shot groups.
I'm liking that. Let me try it. We'll just keep it right at 5 one more time and we're going to verify. It seems to be liking that decently.
All right, so there it is. Sub-MOA group there with both pellets and with slugs, all at the same regulated pressure. And again, you just need to know how to manipulate that micro adjuster and the power wheel and just finding that velocity that you're really looking for. So as again, with pellets, you really want to stay below 900 feet per second. So yeah, you'll notice that it got pretty loud. I mean, especially as I got up there into these slug tuning power levels. The FX King can get pretty loud. When pellets, it's not so bad, but just when it was pushing those slugs pretty hard, it was pretty loud. So right now, I have been at deer camp literally for like a month deer hunting. And you'll see the new Element Optics Hyper 7 in the Pyramid Air Raven crossbow video that I'll be publishing here pretty soon. So I have been grinding really hard in the woods at deer camp for like an entire month. This has been like, actually only a couple days I've been here at home here in my studio. So whenever I was out there, you know, we're getting ready for the deer season, and anytime we're doing any of this kind of shooting, or sometimes we'll take a break, we'll go small game hunting, you really want to be shooting suppressed. So really a lot of it has to do with just not spooking the deer and really just kind of like not spooking the woods, especially like leading into that November 15th or even during the archery season. As a hunter, you really want to be courteous to the other hunters around you. If you're out there bow hunting, be really careful because they're not wearing blaze orange. Typically, bow hunters don't wear blaze orange. Here in Michigan, you don't have to. So I'm usually fully camoed. Just really want to be careful with your target acquisition and just being courteous to other hunters. And really sound suppression through a sound suppressor like the Donnie FL Yokozuna. This is absolutely awesome. I mean, definitely check out my review on this thing. Because as I'm out in the woods, trying to kind of keep the woods as quiet as possible, but also trying to enjoy some small game hunting, just be courteous, go suppressed. The other thing while I was at deer camp, okay, while I'm back and forth home, here I've got a large compressor, but as I'm out and about, I don't have access to my large compressor. I may run out of air on my tank. And that is where a portable mobile compressor comes into play. And so I really wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about this little guy right here. So this is the Littlefoot compressor from Donnie FL. And look, there's a ton of different box compressors out there. I have reviewed a lot of them. I have tested a lot of them. I have broken a lot of them. Typically, a lot of these portable compressors, I mean, the biggest thing that, you know, can go wrong with them, I have actually figured out what is the thing that causes these things to break so much. And here is the secret. It is you, and it is me, and it is user error. Seriously, what breaks these things is just not following directions. And with one little, you know, mistake, you're basically going to blow this thing. And so that is true of every box compressor that I have ever used, is that if you try to, as you're compressing your gun, as you're putting air into your gun, and you stop during that cycle, and then without releasing the pressure off of that line, and you try to start it again, that is like running a freight train into a wall, basically. That piston just can't, you know, overcome all that air pressure, and you're just burning out the internals. And so now with the Littlefoot, though, they have built in some really good features, and I call them kind of dummy lights, because the dummy like me that forgets to, let's say, turn on the cooling portion of the compressor and overheating it. It has a feature in this where you can actually see that it's going to start blinking red at you if you do not have the fan on. So another big thing that kills these compressors is overheating. So another cool feature in this is that you have the ability to set the temperature shutoff. But again, when you restart it, make sure that you release the air pressure first, then screw that back in, and then start it. So you always want to start this with zero pressure in the line, because that is really going to mess things up. The other feature it has in this, you can actually set the amperage draw to a lower amount. So maybe if you're worried about, you know, tripping a breaker or something like that. So you can run this off of a car battery. Again, I will tell you from experience. Again, I've made all the mistakes for you, so you guys don't have to make these mistakes. Do not run these things off of your car battery unless your car is running. I will tell you, I had to pay, I think it was like $600 to get my truck towed out of the woods one time, way back in the state property, because I was running my portable compressor off my Toyota Tundra without the engine running, and it basically drained the battery, couldn't start it. They couldn't get it jumped. I don't know. Anyway, so I had to have it towed out, all because of the compressor. Anyway, but you can run these off of your truck battery or your car battery while it's running. So that other cool feature for portability. Ultimate deer camp, being outdoors, mobile unit. This thing, it has a lot of safety features in there, dummy proof for dummies like me. So definitely check out the Littlefoot compressor from Donnie FL. There it is, everybody, the FX King. I absolutely love that thing. It is yet another great variation of that FX dynamic block. Who knows, there might be other variations that they haven't even thought of, different combinations, barrel lengths, who knows. But the FX King with that GRS Rifle Stock, I definitely highly recommend it. So thanks everybody for joining me. If you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe. I definitely want to hear your comments below about different things that you'd like to see on my channel, maybe different configurations or tunes you'd like to see with the FX King. So thanks for joining me, everybody. Take care.